I never believed in those movie moments where you suddenly see someone differently, like the camera zooms in and everything goes soft focus and you just know. That felt like Hollywood nonsense to me, the kind of thing that doesn't happen to regular people living regular lives. But then Jasper started losing at cards, and my entire world tilted sideways in a way I still haven't fully recovered from. We'd been roommates for 8 months when this whole thing started. I'm Adrian, by the way, and I should probably mention that I'm the kind of person who takes household chores way too seriously. I have a chart, an actual colour-coded chart on the fridge with rotating responsibilities, because I cannot handle dishes piling up in the sink or trash overflowing, or that weird smell that happens when you don't clean the bathroom for too long. Jasper thought it was hilarious when he first moved in. He'd stand in front of that chart with his coffee, shaking his head and grinning like I'd hung up a piece of abstract art he was trying to interpret. But here's the thing about Jasper. He never complained. He just did his chores, usually while listening to music too loud through his headphones, dancing a little when he thought I wasn't looking. He was good about it, responsible, which honestly surprised me because when I first met him, I'd pegged him as the chaotic type. He had that energy, like he was always on the verge of suggesting something spontaneous and possibly inadvisable. Tall, with perpetually messy dark hair, and these eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. He smiled a lot. The card game started because we were both broke and bored on a random Tuesday night. I'd found an old deck in the kitchen drawer, and Jasper suggested we play for something since we didn't have any money to bet. That's when I jokingly said we should play for chores. Winner gets the next day off from their responsibilities, loser has to cover both our duties. He'd agreed immediately with this enthusiasm that should have been my first clue, but I was too focused on the fact that I'm actually pretty good at cards. That first night I won 3 games in a row. Jasper took it gracefully, did all the dishes the next day, plus took out the trash, and even wiped down the counters without me asking. I felt a little guilty, honestly, watching him work while I sat on the couch with my laptop. But he seemed fine with it, kept catching my eye and giving me these exaggerated thumbs up like he was having the time of his life scrubbing our sink. We made it a regular thing after that. Every Tuesday and Friday night we'd sit at our small kitchen table with cards spread between us, playing for the next day's freedom from household responsibilities, and I kept winning. Not every single time, but enough that I should have noticed something was off. Jasper would groan dramatically when he lost, throw his cards down with theatrical despair, but there was always this weird lightness to it, like he wasn't actually upset. I remember the night I started to suspect something. It was a Friday, about 3 weeks into our regular card games, and I'd won again. Jasper had this straight that was almost good enough, but my flush beat it. He'd looked at his cards for a long moment before laying them down, and I swear I saw something flicker across his face. Not disappointment. Something else. Something that made my stomach do this unexpected flip. The next day was Saturday, which meant deep cleaning day according to the chart. Jasper tackled everything. Vacuuming, mopping, cleaning the bathroom while I allegedly worked on a project for my job. But I kept finding excuses to be in whatever room he was in. I'd tell myself I needed something from the kitchen while he was doing dishes, or I had to grab something from the bathroom cabinet while he was scrubbing the toilet, and each time I'd catch myself watching him. The way his shirt rode up a little when he reached to clean high shelves, the concentration on his face when he was trying to get a stubborn stain out of something, the flex of his forearms when he was wringing out the mop. I'd never thought about Jasper like that before. Or maybe I had, and I'd been very deliberately not thinking about it, if that makes sense. He was my roommate, my friend, and I'd very carefully kept him in that category in my mind. But something was shifting, and I couldn't seem to stop it. The next card game I paid closer attention. We were playing poker, and Jasper had this tell I'd noticed early on, a little twitch at the corner of his mouth when he had a good hand. Except that night I saw the twitch, and then watched him fold on what should have been a winning hand. I'd won with a pair of eights, and Jasper had folded like he had nothing. My heart started beating faster, this suspicious feeling creeping up my spine. But I didn't say anything. I just watched him do the dishes the next day, really watched him, and I noticed things I'd been too oblivious to see before. The way he'd glance at me when he thought I wasn't looking. How he always seemed to position himself where I could see him working. The small smile that played at his lips when I'd make some comment about how clean everything looked. Was he losing on purpose? And if he was, why? I tested my theory the following week. We sat down for our Tuesday game and I paid attention to every single hand. Jasper won the first 2 rounds legitimately, I could tell, but then the 3rd round, he had a full house. I knew he did because I caught a glimpse of his cards when he shifted to grab his water, and he folded. He folded on a full house and let me win with 3 of a kind. Something in my chest cracked open. I stared at him across the table. This guy I'd been living with for months, who I'd been so carefully not thinking about in any way that felt dangerous, and suddenly I couldn't think about anything else. Why would someone deliberately lose at cards to do more chores? What possible reason could there be? Unless he wanted an excuse to be around me. Unless he wanted an excuse to do things that made me happy. Unless this was his weird, roundabout way of showing he cared. Oh God. Oh no. I barely slept that night. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Jasper move around in his room across the hall, and my mind was racing. I catalogued every interaction we'd had over the past months, looking for signs, for clues I'd missed. The way he always made coffee for both of us in the morning, remembering exactly how I liked it. How he'd text me funny things during the day when we were both at work. The time I'd been sick and he'd made soup from scratch. Actually from scratch. Because he said the canned stuff wasn't good enough. The way he'd watch me sometimes with this soft expression I'd always attributed to him just spacing out. How long had this been going on? How long had Jasper been feeling something more, and I'd been completely oblivious? And the bigger question, the one that kept me awake until dawn, started creeping through my curtains. What did I feel? Because that flutter in my stomach when I watched him clean wasn't just appreciation for a tidy apartment, and the way I kept finding excuses to be near him wasn't just friendliness. And the fact that I was lying here at 4 a.m. thinking about the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, that wasn't just roommate concern. I'd been lying to myself, maybe for months. Maybe since the day he'd moved in and I'd felt this pull toward him that I'd immediately shut down because it felt complicated and scary, and like something that could ruin the good thing we had going. The next card game, Friday night, I couldn't focus. My hands were shaking slightly as I dealt the cards, and Jasper noticed. Of course he noticed. He was always noticing things about me. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft with genuine concern. "You seem distracted." "I'm fine," I lied, and then proceeded to play the worst poker I'd ever played in my life. I lost 3 hands in a row, legitimately lost them, because I couldn't concentrate on the cards. I kept looking at Jasper instead, at his hands holding his cards, at his face as he studied his hand, at the way his hair fell across his forehead. He seemed surprised by his wins, collecting them with less of his usual dramatic flair. And when we finished, when he stood up to put the cards away, he paused next to me. "Adrian, seriously, are you all right? You've been acting weird all night." This was my moment. I could feel it. I could say something, ask him directly, stop this dance we'd apparently been doing. But fear wrapped around my throat, and instead I just nodded. "Yeah, I'm good, just tired, long week." He didn't look convinced, but he didn't push, just gave my shoulder a gentle squeeze as he passed, and that simple touch sent electricity through my entire body. I sat at that kitchen table for a long time after he went to his room, trying to figure out what to do with all these feelings that were suddenly too big to ignore. I started testing him in other ways, small things. I'd mentioned that I was craving something specific for dinner, and it would mysteriously appear in our fridge the next day. I'd say I was cold while we were watching TV, and Jasper would immediately grab the blanket and drape it over both of us, sitting just a little closer than necessary. I'd complain about a rough day at work, and he'd show up with my favourite candy bar, and this look of such genuine concern that it made my heart ache, and the card games continued. I'd caught him throwing hands at least 4 more times. He wasn't even being subtle about it anymore, or maybe I was just finally paying attention. Each time he lost, he'd do his chores the next day with this contentment that radiated off him. He'd hum while he worked. He'd find reasons to show me what he'd accomplished. "Hey Adrian, check out how good the kitchen looks." "Adrian, I got that stain out of the carpet you were worried about." My name in his mouth started to sound different, weighted with something I was becoming afraid to identify. We were approaching 3 months of this routine when everything came to a head. It was a Tuesday night, and we'd just finished another game that Jasper had conspicuously lost. He was gathering up the cards, and I was watching his hands, and something in me just snapped. All the wondering, all the careful observation, all the feelings I'd been trying to categorize and contain just overflowed. "Why do you keep losing?" I asked. My voice came out rough, almost accusatory. Jasper froze, cards suspended mid-shuffle. What? The card games. You keep losing. On purpose. I've been watching, and you're throwing hands. You had a full house 2 weeks ago and folded. Tonight you had a straight flush and somehow I won with a regular flush. So I'm asking, why do you keep losing on purpose? The silence that followed felt like it lasted hours. Jasper slowly set the cards down, his face going through about 15 different expressions before settling on something resigned, maybe a little scared. He took a deep breath. You really want to know? I really want to know, he laughed, but it sounded shaky. This is going to sound so stupid. God, this is so stupid. I liked doing things for you, okay? I liked making you happy, and I knew you loved coming home to a clean apartment, and you'd always get this relieved look on your face when the chores were done. And I thought, if I lost at cards, I'd have an excuse to do more of them without it being weird, without you questioning why I wanted to do your chores for you. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Why would you want to do my chores for me? Adrian, come on, don't make me say it. I need you to say it. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and his eyes were so vulnerable it hurt. Because I have feelings for you, real feelings, the kind that make me want to do ridiculous things like deliberately lose at cards so I have an excuse to be helpful. The kind that make me notice how you like your coffee and what makes you smile and the exact way you organise the books on your shelf. I've been half in love with you since about 2 weeks after I moved in, and it's only gotten worse. And I know this is probably really uncomfortable for you to hear, and I'm sorry if I've made things weird, but you asked, so there it is. The words hung in the air between us. Jasper looked like he wanted to disappear. His face flushed, his hands gripping the edge of the table, and I just sat there, feeling like every cell in my body was vibrating at a frequency I'd never experienced before. Say something, Jasper whispered. Please say something. Even if it's to tell me I need to move out, just say something. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. How do you tell someone that you've been an idiot? That you've been so busy protecting yourself from potential hurt that you miss something beautiful developing right in front of you? That somewhere between the coffee he made you every morning and the way he remembered every small detail you mentioned and the genuine care in his eyes when he asked about your day, you'd fallen too. You just hadn't let yourself acknowledge it. I don't want you to move out, I finally managed. I want you to stop losing at cards on purpose. Jasper blinked. What? If you want to do things for me, just do them. You don't need an excuse. And if you have feelings for me, you don't need to hide them behind household chores and deliberately thrown poker hands. Just tell me. Be honest with me. I'm being honest with you right now, he said quietly. I'm telling you that I'm crazy about you. That I think about you constantly. That every time you smile at me it feels like winning the lottery. That I would happily do your chores for the rest of my life if it meant I got to see that relieved, happy look on your face. I'm telling you that this has gone way past a crush, and I'm terrified because you're my roommate and my friend, and I don't want to lose either of those things, but I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way. My hands were shaking. I pressed them flat against the table. What if I told you that I've been watching you do dishes for the past month and finding it attractive? What if I said that I've been making excuses to be in whatever room you're in? What if I admitted that I figured out you were losing on purpose weeks ago, and instead of calling you out on it, I just kept playing because I liked watching you be happy doing things for me? What would you say to that? Jasper's eyes went wide. I'd say that sounds like maybe you feel something too. Maybe I do, I whispered. Maybe I've been feeling something for a while and I was too scared to look at it directly. Maybe I've been an idiot who didn't realize what was right in front of him until you started losing at poker. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Jasper stood too, automatically, like he couldn't help but mirror me. We were only a few feet apart, the kitchen table between us, and I'd never been more aware of another person's presence in my entire life. I'm saying that I like you too, Jasper. I'm saying that I've probably liked you for longer than I'm willing to admit. I'm saying that the thought of you having feelings for me makes me happier than I know how to express. And I'm saying that if you want to do my chores, you can do it because you're my boyfriend, not because you lost at cards. The word boyfriend hung in the air, bold and terrifying and exactly right. Jasper's face transformed, going from nervous to hopeful to absolutely radiant in the span of seconds. Boyfriend, he repeated like he was testing the word out. If you want to be, if that's something you'd want, he laughed, and this time it was pure joy. If that's something I'd want, Adrian, I've been losing at cards for 3 months hoping you'd eventually notice me. Yes, that's something I'd want. That's everything I want. I moved around the table, closing the distance between us, and Jasper met me halfway. We stood there, inches apart, and I could see every fleck of colour in his eyes, could count his eyelashes if I wanted to, could feel the warmth radiating off his body. I can't believe you lost at cards on purpose, I said softly. That's possibly the most ridiculous thing anyone's ever done for me. I can't believe it took you this long to figure it out, he replied just as soft. I wasn't exactly being subtle. You were being subtle enough that I convinced myself I was imagining things. You weren't imagining things. I know that now. We were both smiling, standing so close, and I realised I'd never wanted to kiss someone more in my entire life. But I was also terrified, because this was real now, this was happening, and what if I messed it up? Jasper must have seen the fear flicker across my face because his expression gentled. We can go slow, he said. We don't have to rush anything. I've waited this long, I can wait longer. I just want to be honest with you. I just want a chance. I want that too, I said. The honesty part. The chance part. All of it. Yeah? Yeah. He reached out slowly, giving me plenty of time to move away if I wanted to, and took my hand. His palm was warm against mine, his fingers intertwining with mine like they'd been designed to fit together. Such a simple gesture, holding hands, but it felt monumental. It felt like everything. So what happens now? Jasper asked. Now we figure this out together. We keep being roommates, but we also try being more. We probably make mistakes and have awkward moments and have to learn how to navigate this new thing. But we do it honestly. No more pretending. No more deliberately losing at cards. No more deliberately losing at cards, he agreed. But I'm still going to want to do nice things for you. That's not going to change just because you know about my feelings now. I can live with that, as long as you let me do nice things for you too. Deal. We stood there in our kitchen, hands linked, smiling at each other like idiots, and I felt this overwhelming sense of rightness. Like all the pieces had finally clicked into place. Like I'd been walking around with something missing and hadn't even known it until Jasper filled that space. Can I kiss you? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Jasper's breath caught. I thought you'd never ask. I leaned in slowly, my free hand coming up to cup his face, my thumb brushing across his cheekbone. He leaned into the touch, his eyes fluttering closed, and then I closed the remaining distance and pressed my lips to his. It was soft and sweet and perfect. He tasted like the mint tea he'd been drinking, and his lips were warm and gentle against mine. The kiss stayed innocent, just a press of mouths, a question and an answer, a promise of more to come. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing a little harder, both grinning like we'd discovered something precious. Wow, Jasper breathed. Yeah, I agreed. Wow. We ended up on the couch after that, sitting close, my head on his shoulder, his arm around me, just talking. Really talking the way we should have been talking months ago. He told me about the first moment he knew he had feelings for me. It was apparently when I'd very seriously explained my chore chart system, and he'd found my intensity adorable instead of annoying. I told him about all the times I'd caught myself staring at him and had to look away. We laughed about the card games, about how obvious he'd apparently been, about how oblivious I'd been. I can't believe you kept playing even after you figured it out, he said, shaking his head. What were you thinking? I was thinking that I wasn't ready to confront what it meant, that if I didn't say anything I could keep things the way they were and not risk ruining our friendship. But also, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, I kind of liked watching you do the chores. You looked happy, and that made me happy. I was happy. I got to do something for you. That's all I wanted. You're going to make me cry, I said, only half joking. Don't cry, unless they're happy tears. Happy tears are allowed. They were happy tears, as it turned out. A few of them slipped down my cheeks, and Jasper wiped them away with his thumb, so tender and careful that it made me cry a little harder. He just held me, patient and warm, until I pulled myself together. Sorry, I mumbled. I'm not usually like this. Don't apologize. I like seeing you feel things. I like being the reason you feel things. We stayed up most of the night, talking and occasionally kissing, learning how to be this new version of us. It felt natural and right, like we'd been moving toward this all along and just hadn't known it. Every so often, one of us would say something like, I can't believe this is real, or I can't believe this is happening, and the other would squeeze their hand or kiss their temple or smile and say, believe it. The next morning, Saturday, we both woke up on the couch, tangled together, sunlight streaming through the windows. Jasper stirred first, and I felt him press a kiss to the top of my head. I made a content noise and burrowed closer. "Morning," he murmured. "Morning." "So last night really happened? That wasn't a dream. Really happened. Good. Great. Best night of my life." I tilted my head up to look at him. His hair was even messier than usual, sticking up in about 15 directions, and he had a crease on his face from the couch cushion. He was beautiful. "Mine too," I said, and kissed him properly, morning breath and all. We eventually got up, made coffee together in our tiny kitchen, bumping hips and stealing kisses between pouring water and measuring grounds. The chore chart was still on the fridge, and Jasper looked at it with amusement. "So what do we do about this?" he asked. "Do we still need it?" "Probably. I mean, we still need to keep the apartment clean, but maybe we can adjust it, make it more collaborative." "I like collaborative." "Me too." We spent that Saturday together, doing chores side by side, which turned out to be way more fun when we were doing it as partners instead of roommates fulfilling obligations. Jasper would wash dishes and I'd dry them, and we'd talk about everything and nothing. We'd take breaks to kiss against the counter, getting distracted and having to remind ourselves we had tasks to finish. Everything felt lighter, easier, infused with this joy I hadn't known I was missing. That night we played cards again, but this time we played for real. No throwing hands, no ulterior motives, just two people who enjoyed each other's company playing poker at their kitchen table. I won, legitimately, and Jasper groaned dramatically, but with real humour this time. "All right, you win. I'll do tomorrow's chores." "Or," I said, reaching across the table to take his hand, "we could do them together, make it go faster, have more time for other things." His eyes lit up. "Other things? What kind of other things?" "I don't know. Maybe things that involve more of this." I tugged him closer and kissed him across the table, awkward angle and all. "I like those kinds of things," he said against my lips. "Me too." Looking back now, I can't pinpoint the exact moment I fell in love with Jasper. Maybe it was the first time he made me coffee without being asked. Maybe it was watching him dance while doing dishes. Maybe it was the night he deliberately lost at cards because he wanted an excuse to make me happy. Or maybe it was all of those moments combined, a slow accumulation of small kindnesses and genuine care that added up to something bigger than I'd ever expected. All I know is that I'm grateful he was a terrible liar. I'm grateful I finally paid attention. I'm grateful for every deliberately lost hand of poker, because each one was him saying "I care about you" in the only way he knew how at the time. And now we get to say it out loud, directly, honestly, the way we should have been saying it all along. We still play cards every Tuesday and Friday. We both play to win now, and the loser does handle the next day's chores, but it doesn't matter who wins anymore. Because at the end of every game, we end up on the couch together, or in one of our rooms, or sometimes still at the kitchen table, just talking and laughing and being together. And that's better than any card game victory could ever be. Jasper still does nice things for me all the time, makes my coffee, remembers what I'm stressed about, leaves little notes around the apartment. But now I do the same for him, and it turns out I'm pretty good at taking care of someone when I let myself try. We take care of each other. That's what people do when they love each other. Yeah, love. We said it about a month after that first night. I said it first, actually, on a random Wednesday evening when he was cooking dinner and singing off-key to some song on his phone. He turned around with the spatula in his hand, this look of complete surprise on his face, and then the biggest smile I'd ever seen. "Say it again," he demanded. "I love you." "Again. I love you, Jasper. I love you too, Adrian, so much. I've been waiting to say that for months." "You could have said it earlier." "So could you. Fair point." We've been together for almost a year now, and I still can't quite believe that this is my life, that I get to wake up next to him, or across the hall from him, or on the couch where we fell asleep watching movies, that I get to know him in all these intimate ways, his morning grumpiness and his terrible singing voice, and the way he still gets excited about doing things that make me happy, that someone could care about me enough to deliberately lose at cards just for an excuse to see me smile. The chore chart is still on the fridge, but it's evolved. Now it has both our handwriting on it, modifications and notes and little drawings in the margins. It's become less about strict division of labour and more about working together to maintain the life we're building. Some days one of us does more, some days the other picks up the slack. It evens out. That's how partnerships work. I've learned that love isn't always the big dramatic moments, though we have those too. More often, it's the small stuff. It's making coffee the way someone likes it. It's doing the dishes because you know they've had a long day. It's paying attention to what makes them happy, and then doing those things, not because you have to, but because their happiness matters to you. It's being willing to be vulnerable and honest, even when it's terrifying. And sometimes apparently it's pretending to lose at cards because you're not quite brave enough to say the words yet, but you're desperate to show the feeling somehow. I used to think that was ridiculous, but now I think it's kind of beautiful. Jasper loved me before he could tell me, and he found a way to show it that was uniquely him. How could I not fall for someone like that? So yeah, he pretended to lose at cards so he'd have to do my chores. And in doing so, he won something way more important. He won my attention, my affection, and eventually my heart. And I won the same from him. Turns out, we both won. Total char count, 24,847.